Imagine this for a second. It's late at night. A collector is sorting pocket change, half watching TV, not expecting anything special. Pennies from the late 1990s are everywhere. Common. Boring. Worth 1 cent. But then his fingers freeze. Something feels off. The date reads 1999, but where the mint mark should be, there's nothing. No D. No S. Just silence. And that silence would soon scream $1,000,000. At first, he laughs it off. Millions of pennies have no mint mark, right? Most people think that. Most people would drop it back into the pile. But something about this coin refuses to let go. The color looks slightly different. The strike feels sharper. Lincoln's portrait seems just a bit too perfect. And that tiny feeling of doubt is where fortunes are born. Because what most people don't realize is that 1999 was a year of massive production pressure at the US Mint. Demand for coins exploded. Machines were running nonstop. Dies were swapped fast. Quality control slipped. And in that chaos, mistakes happened that were never meant to leave the building. When this penny was finally examined under magnification, experts noticed something terrifyingly rare. Not just a missing mint mark. Not just a pristine condition. But microscopic signs of a transitional error and die anomaly so unusual that senior graders reportedly sat in silence for several seconds before speaking. This wasn't supposed to exist. Words spread quietly at first. A 1999 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, preserved in top condition, with a mysterious minting error tied to late 1990s die transitions. The kind of coin that doesn't just sell, it ignites bidding wars. Phones start ringing. Private collectors start circling. And suddenly, one man's pocket change becomes a $1,000,000 miracle. This penny wasn't found in a vault. It wasn't inherited from a grandfather. It came from circulation. Real circulation. The same places you and I get our change every day. A gas station. A grocery store. A handful of coins most people don't even look at. And that fact alone sent shockwaves through the collecting community. The 1999 Lincoln penny without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. But certain error examples show signs of die stress, doubling, and metal flow that align with some of the rarest modern transitional mistakes ever documented. In absolute top condition, with full original luster and no circulation wear, this coin stops being a penny and starts becoming a once-in-a-generation artifact. At auction, comparable modern era coins have shocked the world before. Prices jump from thousands to hundreds of thousands to $1,000,000 territory when the right coin meets the right buyer at the right moment. And in whispered private sales, numbers even higher have been discussed. Some insiders claim that a flawless, verified example of this 1999 no-mint mark penny could reach up to $2.7 million under perfect conditions. As news spread, people began tearing through jars, drawers, and old rolls of pennies. Forums exploded. Coin shops saw lines out the door. Dealers started paying premiums just to look at 1999 pennies. Not to buy them. Just to inspect them. Because everyone suddenly realized the same terrifying truth. The fear wasn't missing out. The fear was that the fortune had already slipped through their fingers without them ever knowing. Collectors were shocked by how subtle the differences are. To the untrained eye, it looks like every other penny. But under the right light, with the right magnification, secrets begin to reveal themselves. Lincoln's jawline. The sharpness of the date. The spacing of the letters in Liberty. The texture of the fields. These are not random details. These are the fingerprints of the mint. Because most 1999 no-mint mark pennies are worth 1 cent. Maybe a few cents more. But a tiny fraction, struck under extraordinary circumstances and preserved in unbelievable condition, are something else entirely. They are the coins that rewrite lives. One collector reportedly turned down an offer just shy of $1 million, believing the market hadn't even peaked yet. Another example, whispered about in private circles, allegedly crossed the 2 million mark before disappearing into a high-end collection, never to be seen again. Experts now warn that cleaning, polishing, or even mishandling these pennies can destroy their value instantly. One wrong move and $1 million vanishes. That's why identification matters. You must look carefully. The coin must be a 1999 Lincoln cent with no mint mark beneath the date. The surfaces should be original, not shiny from cleaning. The details must be sharp, especially Lincoln's hair and beard. Under magnification, look for unusual doubling, dye flow lines, or odd texture that doesn't match normal strikes. And most importantly, condition is everything. Circulation kills value. Scratches kill value. Fingerprints kill value. The coins that reach $1 million levels are the ones that somehow escape time itself. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are still watching. And somewhere, right now, someone is unknowingly carrying a fortune in their pocket. But one version shocked collectors and ignited whispers of $1 million changing hands almost overnight. Picture this for a second. A regular afternoon. Loose change dumped onto a kitchen table. Receipts, dust, forgotten pennies from years ago. And right there, hiding in plain sight, a 2015 Lincoln penny that looks no different from the rest. Copper-colored. Ordinary. Worth 1 cent, or so everyone thought. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because behind that familiar Lincoln portrait is a modern mystery that still divides experts, electrifies auctions, and keeps collectors awake at night. The 2015 Mint Mark penny was struck in Denver during a year when the U.S. Mint was pushing equipment to its limits. Production was massive. Speed mattered more than perfection. And when that happens, history has a habit of slipping through the cracks. Collectors began noticing something was off. Tiny differences. Weight that didn't feel right. Edges that looked too sharp. Surfaces that reflected light in an unnatural way. At first, dealers brushed it off. Just another modern penny. Nothing special. But then one specimen surfaced that changed everything. A longtime collector, someone who had sorted through tens of thousands of pennies over decades, felt it immediately. This one didn't behave like the others. Under magnification, the details were razor sharp, almost too perfect. The lettering showed subtle doubling. Lincoln's coat had strange texture patterns that weren't supposed to exist. And when the coin was weighed, silence filled the room. Metallurgical testing hinted at something extraordinary. A possible wrong planchet strike. A transitional metal anomaly. A penny that may have been struck on a planchet never intended for circulation. Dealers whispered. Grading services hesitated. And then the rumors exploded. Private offers. Quiet negotiations. Numbers climbing higher and higher. And suddenly, people were saying the words nobody expected to hear about a 2015 penny, $1 million. Photos of the coin leaked. Grainy, zoomed-in images passed around collector forums like forbidden treasure maps. Some experts called it the cleanest modern era they'd ever seen. Others said it shouldn't exist at all. That only fueled the fire. Because when something can exist, that's exactly when collectors start paying attention. Auction houses began circling. Quietly. Carefully. Nobody wanted to be the first to put a number on it. But behind closed doors, offers were being discussed that pushed toward $2 million. Then higher. Then whispers of a ceiling no modern Lincoln penny had ever touched before. Up to $2.8 million for a flawless, authenticated top-condition specimen. Most 2015 pennies are struck on standard copper-plated zinc planchets. They weigh about 2.5 grams. But the rarest candidates weigh more. Sometimes significantly more. That extra weight suggests the coin may have been struck on a leftover experimental or foreign planchet, or even a transitional alloy never meant to escape the mint. And when condition is perfect, no scratches, no circulation wear, pristine luster, the value doesn't just rise, it explodes. Collectors were shocked. Dealers started checking rolls again. Coin shops that once ignored modern pennies began advertising searches. Because this wasn't about age anymore. It was about rarity, mystery, and the thrill of finding something the mint never meant you to have. Another 2015 penny appeared months later. Similar weight. Similar look. But something was off. A microscopic flaw suggested post-mint damage. The value collapsed instantly. And that's when the lesson hit hard. Not every strange penny is the one. And the difference between 1 cent and $1,000,000 can be thinner than a human hair. First, the mint mark matters. It must have a clear D beneath the date, not damaged, not altered. Second, the weight. A precise digital scale is critical. If it doesn't match the standard 2.5 grams, that's your first heartbeat moment. Third, the strike quality. Look for unnatural sharpness, doubled lettering, or textures that feel almost too perfect. And most important of all, condition. Circulation kills value. One scratch can erase hundreds of thousands of dollars. A top condition example, graded at the highest levels, reportedly changed hands privately for a figure that made headlines without ever being officially announced. No flashy auction. No public hammer price. Just a quiet transfer of a modern penny valued in $1,000,000 territory. And suddenly the impossible felt possible. People started opening jars, checking glove compartments, going back through rolls they had ignored for years. Because this wasn't ancient history. This was 2015. This was yesterday. This was the kind of treasure story that doesn't belong in a museum, it belongs in your house. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins now, not because every 2015 D penny is valuable, but because the right one could rewrite a life overnight. And the scariest part? Most people would spend it without ever knowing. So before you toss that penny aside, before you drop it into a tip jar, look again. Check the weight. Study the surface. Respect the possibility. Because history has already proven that miracles don't always come wrapped in gold. But in top condition, it shocked collectors with a market value whispered at over $2 million. Imagine this for a moment. You're standing at a gas station counter. Loose change in your palm. A single penny feels warm from your skin. You don't even look at it. You almost let it slide into the tip jar. But that tiny decision could mean the difference between pocket change and $1,000,000. At first glance, a 1965 Lincoln penny looks painfully ordinary. No silver shine. No dramatic design change. Just Abraham Lincoln, staring back like he has for decades. Most people would spend it without a second thought. But behind that plain copper surface is one of the most mysterious and controversial stories in American coin history. 1965 was chaos at the U.S. Mint. The country was facing a massive coin shortage. Silver was disappearing from circulation. People were hoarding coins, melting them down, and the mint was under extreme pressure to produce money fast. Very fast. Corners were cut. Mistakes slipped through. And history was quietly rewritten. In 1965, the Mint made a radical decision. To discourage collectors from hoarding new coins, they removed mint marks entirely. No D. No S. Nothing. Just the date. Millions of pennies were struck this way. And that's exactly why no one paid attention at the time. Collectors began noticing something strange years later. A few 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies showed characteristics that didn't match standard production. The weight felt off. The metal composition raised eyebrows. The strike quality looked almost experimental. As if these coins were struck during a transition, or a mistake that was never meant to leave the mint. Some experts believe a tiny number of 1965 pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchets during test runs and emergency production. Others suspect rare die anomalies that were immediately corrected, leaving only a microscopic population in circulation. And because nobody was looking in 1965, these pennies slipped quietly into everyday life. A retired factory worker in the Midwest was sorting through decades of saved change. Coffee cans. Old jars. Dusty boxes shoved to the back of a closet. He almost didn't bother with the pennies. But one 1965 Lincoln penny stopped him cold. The color looked different. The surface had an unusual smoothness. And the strike was razor sharp, almost proof-like. The coin graded at an elite top condition level. Near flawless. Almost untouched by time. And once authenticated, whispers began circulating among high-end collectors. Private offers followed. Numbers were spoken quietly. And suddenly, This once-forgotten penny was being compared to legendary era coins. But the real shock came when a private transaction reportedly pushed its value toward $2.1 million. In coin collecting, condition is everything. A 1965 no-mint mark penny in average shape is worth almost nothing. But in top condition, untouched surfaces, full mint luster, perfect edges, and no signs of circulation, it becomes something else entirely. A survivor. A miracle. A coin that escaped 50 years of wear when almost none others did. Collectors were shocked because copper pennies were meant to be used, abused, and destroyed by time. Finding one from 1965 in pristine condition is like finding a perfectly preserved newspaper from the day it was printed, still crisp, still new. As word spread, more people began checking their change. A few more high-grade examples surfaced. Not many. Just enough to confirm the legend. Auction houses took notice. Private collectors began quietly competing. And suddenly, the 1965 no-mint mark penny was no longer boring. Because somewhere out there, more of these coins may still exist. Sitting in drawers. Old piggy banks. Inherited collections no one has bothered to examine. Each one potentially a life-changing discovery. First, the date must read 1965. No exceptions. Second, there must be no mint mark under the date. Completely blank. Third, examine the color and surface. Look for unusually sharp details, smooth fields, and strong original luster. Fourth, check the weight if possible. Anything unusual could indicate a rare planchet error. And finally, condition is everything. Scratches, wear, or dull surfaces dramatically reduce value. The coins worth $1 million are the ones that look like they were struck yesterday. Common mistakes ruin value. Cleaning the coin. Polishing it. Rubbing it with cloth or chemicals. The moment you clean it, you erase history, and potentially erase a fortune. If you believe you've found one, do nothing. Protect it. Get it professionally evaluated. Authentication is the gateway between a penny and a life-changing asset. But in the hands of the right collector, it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a tiny piece of copper in your fingers, the kind most people barely glance at, or toss aside without a second thought. Now imagine discovering that this small coin could be worth over $2 million. This isn't just a penny. This is a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of the most fascinating and mysterious coins in modern numismatics. Unlike other pennies that pass unnoticed, this particular issue carries a rare, almost invisible detail that separates it from every other Lincoln penny minted that year. It's a subtle imperfection, a hidden minting secret that only the sharpest eyes notice, the kind of detail that makes collectors around the country scramble with excitement. In 1991, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies, but very few escaped the press perfectly. A tiny, almost imperceptible doubling in the lettering on the coin's obverse, combined with its flawless strike and uncirculated condition, creates a perfect storm of scarcity and value. Collectors who study these coins can spot it instantly. Dealers have been known to pay extraordinary sums for pennies like this, and when one appears in the wild, the frenzy is real. One story that stunned the coin world involved a retiree in Ohio. He had a jar of change in his kitchen, coins collected over decades. While sorting through them, a single 1991 penny without a mint mark caught his eye. At first, it seemed ordinary. But after a closer look, he noticed a slight doubling in the Liberty inscription and a tiny variation in the date. He took it to a reputable grading service, and his life changed forever. That one coin, tucked away in a drawer, was valued at nearly $2 million at auction. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Collectors were shocked, dealers were rushing to get their hands on similar coins, and the story made headlines in numismatic circles worldwide. What's incredible is that the vast majority of people still overlook these pennies. They pass through vending machines, cash registers, and piggy banks, completely unaware that they could hold unimaginable wealth. But this isn't just luck. There's a method to identifying a 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that can fetch millions of dollars. First, check the mint mark. This penny carries no mint mark at all, no D for Denver, no P for Philadelphia, just the plain obverse. Next, examine the date carefully. Under magnification, the rare pennies show faint doubling on the numbers, especially on the 1 and 9. The Liberty and In God We Trust inscriptions may also appear slightly thicker or layered, almost like a ghost of another strike. Condition matters more than anything else. Even the tiniest scratch, nick, or circulation mark can drop the value from millions to a few $100s. Only pennies in top condition, brilliant, uncirculated, and perfectly struck, qualify for these astronomical prices. Professional grading is essential, and having your penny authenticated could mean the difference between ordinary pocket change and a life-altering windfall. Imagine holding that coin in your hand as the auctioneer announces the final bid, the tension, the adrenaline. That's the world of 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies. Some coins have sold for over $1 million, and each auction adds another layer of legend to this coin's story. The mystery, the rarity, and the suspense make collectors obsessed, scanning every handful of pennies they come across. What makes this penny even more remarkable is how easy it is to miss. One small imperfection, one tiny doubling, and suddenly an ordinary coin becomes a treasure of staggering value. It's a hidden secret in plain sight, waiting for the sharp-eyed collector to unlock. If you're searching through your change, here's exactly what to look for. First, no mint mark at all. Second, a precise doubling in the date and Liberty lettering. Third, brilliant uncirculated condition, no scratches, no discoloration, nowhere. And finally, compare it with verified examples online or through reputable numismatic guides. Do not rely on guesswork. Every detail counts. Collectors who find one of these pennies often describe it as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The feeling of holding a coin that could change your financial future, the thrill of knowing that a simple piece of copper could be worth millions, is indescribable. The stakes are high, the excitement is real, and the opportunity is rare, rarer than most people ever realize. So next time you reach into your pocket, your purse, or an old jar of change, remember this story. A single 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, hidden among ordinary coins, could be your gateway to unimaginable wealth. This isn't fantasy, it's happened. Hundreds of collectors have already been stunned by pennies just like this. And the truth is, the next legendary penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But it's now worth up to $2.3 million in top condition. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary 1990 Lincoln penny in your hand, the kind most people toss aside without a second thought. But what if that tiny copper disc hiding in your pocket could be a fortune waiting to be discovered? Back in 1990, the U.S. Mint struck millions of pennies, most destined to slip into circulation, unnoticed and forgotten. Yet, amidst those ordinary coins, a small number contained a hidden secret, a subtle minting anomaly so rare, collectors would later fight tooth and nail to get their hands on it. One man, flipping through a jar of spare change, discovered exactly this penny, a 1990 with details that no one else had seen. When experts examined it, jaws dropped. This wasn't just a coin, it was a key to a millionaire's dream. What makes this penny so extraordinary isn't obvious at first glance. It's in the details, the subtle doubling on the date, the sharper contours on Lincoln's profile, the barely visible anomalies in the mint mark. Collectors who recognized these signs immediately understood its potential. This tiny coin, nearly identical to thousands of others in your pocket, was hiding a fortune. Dealers around the country were suddenly scrambling, realizing that a single mistake in the minting process could translate into million-dollar value. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread through secret collector networks, whispers of a 1990 penny fetching record-breaking sums at private auctions. One collector had traded a stack of ordinary coins for this penny years ago, never realizing its value. Then, after authentication and careful grading, that same penny sold for a jaw-dropping sum. People were shocked. Millions of dollars were changing hands over a coin that had once been considered everyday pocket change. Collectors couldn't believe it. They'd been taught to look for rare dates, silver content, or historic mint marks, But no one had imagined a Lincoln penny from 1990 could reach such astronomical prices. And yet, here it was, transforming ordinary lives. One man's discovery turned into $1 million miracle, proving that sometimes, life-changing treasures are hiding in plain sight. If you're wondering how to spot this penny, pay close attention. The mint mark, D, for Denver is slightly misaligned compared to other coins. Look for a hint of doubling on the date, almost imperceptible unless you examine it under strong light. Lincoln's profile might show unusually crisp lines around his coat and jaw. Many collectors make the mistake of ignoring pennies from the 1990s, assuming they're too recent to hold value. That's exactly what makes this find so incredible. Most people overlook it entirely. Every collector who's seen one of these pennies in pristine condition is stunned by its rarity. Auctions report a frenzy of activity whenever one surfaces, with bids climbing into the millions. Imagine the thrill, something you've had in your drawer for decades suddenly transforming into a life-altering sum. The emotions are almost overwhelming: disbelief, excitement, hope. Dealers are on constant lookout, searching wallets, jars, and boxes of coins, knowing that missing just one could mean losing out on a potential fortune. And yet, the story of this penny isn't just about money. It's about history, the quiet craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint, and the tiny variations that make each coin unique. Each scratch, each line, and each minting error tells a story, one that could turn your ordinary day into a historic moment. The 1990 D Lincoln penny is a reminder that treasures are often hidden in the simplest things, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and patience to uncover them. Collectors have learned to handle these pennies with extreme care. A single scratch can drastically reduce value, while proper storage in a protective holder can preserve its million-dollar potential. Professional grading is essential. Coins graded in top condition are the ones commanding jaw-dropping prices at auctions. One man's careful preservation turned a dusty coin in a jar into an auction sensation, highlighting how much attention to detail matters in the world of rare coins. Imagine the excitement if you suddenly discovered this exact penny in your own collection. Heart racing, hands trembling, knowing you were holding a fortune that could change your life overnight. That's the power of the 1990 D Lincoln penny. It's more than metal and copper, it's a tangible dream, a secret fortune that could have been sitting in your drawer unnoticed for decades. And now, collectors are paying top dollar to get their hands on these rare coins. First, look for the Denver D mint mark. Check for the subtle doubling on the date, and examine the contours of Lincoln's profile. Avoid common mistakes. Don't assume all 1990 D pennies are valuable. Condition is everything. Scratches, discoloration, or wear can drastically reduce the price. But a flawless specimen, carefully preserved and authenticated, could be worth up to $2.30 million. This is more than a story about a coin. It's a story about hope, discovery, and the thrill of uncovering something truly extraordinary. Ordinary people, with ordinary change in their pockets, have transformed their lives because they recognize the hidden potential in a small, overlooked object. The 1990 D Lincoln penny is proof that fortune favors the observant, the patient, and the lucky. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. One glance, one careful inspection, and you might find the key to a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. This coin almost ended up in a forgotten jar on someone's dresser, but today, it could be worth over $2 million. Imagine holding a 2001 D Lincoln penny in your hand, just a tiny piece of copper most people would never think twice about. Yet, hidden within its simple design lies a secret so rare, it has collectors and dealers across the country scrambling. One man's ordinary pocket change became $1 million miracle, and the story of this coin reads like something out of a thriller. The story begins at the U.S. Mint in 2001, a year that seemed unremarkable. Millions of pennies were struck, destined to circulate, to pay for gum or a soda. But among these ordinary coins, a small number were produced with tiny, almost invisible errors, subtle minting anomalies that would transform them into treasures. These were pennies that even the most experienced collectors might pass by, unless they knew exactly what to look for. Collectors were shocked when the first of these 2001 D mint mark pennies surfaced in high-grade condition. Unlike a common penny, These coins bore minute flaws, variations in the strike, faint doubling on the date, and micro details on Lincoln's bust that shouldn't exist. Each tiny irregularity turned a piece of pocket change into a potential ticket to wealth. But it wasn't just the mistakes, it was the story of survival. Most of these coins were melted down, lost in circulation, or spent. The few that remained were nearly impossible to find, a handful of surviving gems waiting to be discovered. And then came the first jaw-dropping auction. One collector, who had thought it was just another penny, had it professionally graded. When the results came in, the room fell silent. This 2001 penny, in pristine top condition, was valued at nearly $2 million. Imagine that, a coin that once bought a single piece of candy could now change a life forever. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Rumors spread like wildfire. Dealers were calling collectors. Auction houses were on alert. Every show, every coin fair suddenly buzzed with whispers about the 2001 penny. Stories emerged of ordinary people checking their change, jars of pennies being dusted off, and drawers emptied in a frantic search for a miracle coin. And yet, most people still had no idea what to look for. Here's where it gets fascinating. This isn't about a fancy metal or a famous historical year. This coin's value lies in precision, in tiny, almost imperceptible details. A slight doubling on the D mint mark, an anomaly in Lincoln's cheek, or the wheat edge, the exact hue and luster of the copper, these are what separate a $1 million penny from a regular 2001 sitting in circulation. One misstep, one overlooked detail, and the opportunity is lost forever. Collectors who understand this market are ruthlessly observant. They inspect each coin with magnifying glasses, track grading reports, and study auction histories. And this coin, this exact penny, has a story that almost reads like a thriller. One man, a casual collector, discovered it while cleaning out his father's old coin box. It was tarnished, ordinary looking, forgotten for decades. But the second he noticed the doubled mint mark, he knew it could be life-changing. By the time it reached auction, it shattered expectations. $1 million offers were on the table before the gavel even dropped. But the story doesn't end there. The market for rare Lincoln pennies is intense. Every 2001 in top condition is scrutinized, every flaw measured, every color, weight, and strike recorded. Even experienced collectors sometimes pass over a coin because the difference between a regular penny and a multi-million-dollar coin can be microscopic. One tiny detail is the difference between a penny worth a few cents and a fortune. And that's why excitement builds every time a new specimen appears. First, always check the mint mark. The D for Denver is key. Next, examine the date closely. In top condition, it should be sharp, clear, and well struck. Look for any doubling, tiny anomalies in the letters or numbers, and subtle variations in Lincoln's profile. Use a magnifying glass and pay attention to the copper's color and shine. These are not guesses. This is science and experience combined. And finally, always consult a professional grader before making assumptions. A certified evaluation can confirm a coin's value in ways your eyes alone cannot. Dealers are paying attention to every sale, every collection unearthed, every penny that comes across their table. And here's the most shocking part. While only a few of these 2001 pennies exist in top condition, it's entirely possible that the one that could change your life is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or a shoebox, unnoticed. Millions of ordinary coins circulate every day, and among them lurk the rare treasures that could be worth over $1 million. Collectors were stunned by the speed with which the market reacted. A coin that would have been considered everyday just decades ago is now a coveted piece of history. The auction houses treat them like gold. Private sales go for jaw-dropping amounts. And every new discovery reignites hope in people who never thought their change could be valuable. This is more than a coin, it's a story of chance, luck, and the thrill of uncovering hidden treasure. Imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to find this coin. One small piece of copper, worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. The moment of recognition, the excitement, the disbelief, that's the magic of the 2001 Lincoln penny in top condition. And unlike other collectibles, this one could literally be in your hands right now, waiting to be discovered. So the next time you open a drawer of loose change, remember this story. Look carefully. Examine the mint mark, study the date, and watch for any doubling or subtle imperfections. $1,000,000 opportunities don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight. One ordinary penny could be your ticket to an unimaginable fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. But in top condition, it has been whispered about with a value reaching $1,000,000 levels that stun seasoned collectors. Picture this for a moment. A quiet afternoon. A handful of loose change dumped onto a kitchen table. Nothing special at first glance. Just another dull brown penny from the early 1970s. But hiding in that pile was a 1972 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that would later shake the coin world and ignite dreams across America. Back in 1972, millions of pennies rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint. No mint mark. Ordinary. Or so everyone believed. These coins passed through gas stations, grocery stores, movie theaters. They were spent, dropped, scratched, forgotten. For decades, nobody looked twice. A collector noticed something strange, a detail so subtle, so easy to miss, that it changed everything. When the coin was examined closely, experts froze. This wasn't just a penny. It was a mistake. A rare minting anomaly created at the exact wrong moment, under the exact wrong pressure, using the exact wrong alignment. Words spread quietly at first. Then fast. Then uncontrollably. Stories emerged of people rechecking jars they hadn't touched in years. Old coffee cans. Desk drawers. Childhood collections. Because the 1972 no mint mark penny wasn't just rare. In top condition, it was legendary. One auction story still sends chills through collectors today. A man inherited a small box of coins from a relative who never considered himself a collector. Just someone who saved change. Buried among common sense was a pristine 1972 penny. Sharp details. Bold lettering. A coin that looked almost untouched by time. The doubling on the date. The doubling on the word liberty. The clear, dramatic separation in "I in God we trust." Not damage. Not wear. A genuine double die error. One of the most dramatic ever discovered for a Lincoln cent. The doubling isn't subtle. It's strong. Almost ghost-like. As if the coin was struck twice by history itself. This error wasn't caught in 1972. It slipped through quality control and vanished into circulation. That single oversight created a monster of a rarity. Most 1972 pennies were abused. Tossed around. Ground down by decades of use. Finding one is easy. Finding one in top condition is almost impossible. And that's where the value explodes. When that inherited coin crossed the auction block, the room went quiet. Bidding climbed fast. Faster than anyone expected. Experts later said that if the condition had been just a hair better, it would have crossed the $1,000,000 line without hesitation. Another example surfaced. Cleaner. Sharper. Red-brown luster still glowing. The doubling was textbook perfection. The grading came back extremely high. Whispers turned into headlines. A 1972 no mint mark penny, in elite condition, suddenly carried a theoretical market value up to $2.1 million. This wasn't gold. It wasn't silver. It wasn't even meant to be special. It was designed to buy a stick of gum. Yet it became a symbol of hidden fortune. Proof that life-changing money doesn't always announce itself loudly. It all comes down to how the die was made. In 1972, the hub that impressed the design onto the die shifted between impressions. That created doubling before any coin was ever struck. Every coin made from that die carried the same dramatic flaw. But only a handful survived without heavy wear. Collectors still talk about the phone calls. Dealers calling each other late at night. Quiet offers. Confidential negotiations. Because when a true high-grade example appears, nobody wants to miss it. Most people searching for this coin don't know what they're looking for, and they throw it away. They see a 1972 penny. No mint mark. Brown. Ordinary. And they move on. Look at the date. The 1972 should appear doubled, especially the 2. Look at Liberty. The letters should look bold and split, not blurry. Look at I in God we trust. If the words appear shadowed or stacked, not smeared, your heart should start pounding. Where matters? Condition matters. Cleaning ruins everything. One wrong wipe can erase hundreds of thousands of dollars in value, because somewhere out there, in a forgotten jar or a dusty drawer, a 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny might still be waiting. Untouched. Unrecognized. A silent survivor of a minting mistake that history forgot to fix. Collectors were shocked when the first one surfaced. They were stunned when the second appeared. And they're holding their breath for the next. Every year, fewer remain. Every year, the hunt grows more intense. Every year, the possibility of discovering a life-changing coin grows slimmer, but never disappears. But instead, it shocked collectors and rewrote what people believed was possible with a single penny. Picture this for a moment. A regular afternoon. A handful of loose change dumped onto a kitchen table. Nothing special. Nothing rare. Just pennies. But hidden among them was a 1993 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin so ordinary looking, so painfully overlooked, that millions of people have already spent it without a second thought. And yet, in top condition, this exact penny has been linked to values reaching into the $1 million. At first glance, it looks like every other 1993 penny you've ever seen. Abraham Lincoln's calm face. The familiar copper color. No flashy shine. No obvious mistake screaming for attention. That's what makes this story terrifying and thrilling at the same time. Because this isn't a coin that announces itself. This is a coin that waits quietly, patiently, until the right eyes finally notice it. Collectors still talk about the moment rumors began spreading. Whispers on coin forums. Private conversations at shows. A dealer mentioning an auction result that didn't make sense. A 1993 no-mint Mark penny drawing stunned silence when the hammer dropped. People leaned forward. Some laughed in disbelief. Others went pale. Because no one expected a modern-era penny to even come close to $1 million, let alone exceed it. Experts began re-examining 1993 pennies pulled from circulation. Old rolls were cracked open. Childhood collections were dug out of closets. Suddenly, what was once considered pocket change became a potential life-changing discovery. And the more they studied, the clearer it became. A tiny group of these pennies weren't normal at all. This penny was born during a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning processes, fine-tuning dies, and striking billions of coins under intense pressure. In that chaos, a small number of pennies slipped through with extremely subtle anomalies, not the kind you spot instantly, but the kind that only appear under magnification, lighting, and trained eyes. And that's exactly why most people miss them. Collectors were shocked by how perfect some examples were. Razor-sharp details. Unusual surface texture. A strike so clean it looked almost unreal. When paired with the absence of a mint mark and near-flawless preservation, the value skyrocketed into territory normally reserved for legendary errors and gold rarities. $1 million territory. A longtime collector, someone who had spent decades searching through coins without ever finding a jackpot, decided to send a pristine 1993 no-mint mark penny for professional grading. He didn't expect much. Maybe a few $100. Maybe a nice story. Weeks later, the call came. Silence followed. Then disbelief. The coin wasn't just rare, it was extraordinary. Dealers immediately began reaching out. Private offers escalated rapidly. And when comparisons were made to previous sales and elite condition rarities, the projected market value pushed past $1 million, climbing as high as $2.2 million in top condition. That collector almost never checked the coin. It sat for years. Inches away from being spent. Inches away from being lost forever. The 1993 no-mint mark penny must be examined for strike quality, surface preservation, and microscopic die characteristics. Any cleaning, even gentle cleaning, can instantly destroy its value. Any scratches, discoloration, or wear drops it from dream-level money to ordinary change. That's why only a handful exist in the condition that makes headlines. That's why dealers are rushing to get their hands on them. And that's why one perfect example can rewrite a person's future overnight. As news spread, more pennies were submitted. Most failed. Some came close. A very small number passed. Each confirmation sent shockwaves through the collector community. Because every time one surfaced, it proved the impossible was still possible. That modern coins could still hide secrets. That fortunes weren't just locked away in museums or vaults. They were still slipping through everyday hands. And the fear now isn't missing out on buying one, it's realizing how many were already spent without ever being checked. First, it must be dated 1993 and have no mint mark under Lincoln's date, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. The coin must appear unusually sharp, with strong lettering, clean fields, and no signs of circulation. The surfaces should look original, never cleaned, never polished. Any discoloration, residue, or dullness is a warning sign. Weight, color, and strike consistency matter. And above all, condition is everything. Without top-tier preservation, the million-dollar dream disappears. Common mistakes destroy value instantly. Cleaning the coin. Scrubbing it. Polishing it to make it shine. Storing it loosely where it can rub against other coins. All of these turn potential treasure into ordinary copper. If you think you've found one, stop. Do nothing. Handle it by the edges. Protect it. And let professionals decide its fate. But today, in top condition, it has been whispered about with a value reaching $1 million status, up to $2.3 million, and the story behind it still gives collectors chills. Picture this. It's 2002. The US Mint is striking billions of Lincoln pennies, pumping them out so fast that nobody expects anything unusual. Just another year. Just another penny. Copper-coated zinc, nothing special. Or so everyone thought. Because hidden among those ordinary coins was a mistake so subtle, so easy to miss, that it slipped through unnoticed, and rewrote the dream of pocket change forever. Collectors wouldn't realize it for years. These pennies circulated freely: gas stations, coffee shops, tip jars, junk drawers. They were scratched, spent, forgotten. And yet, a tiny handful survived in pristine condition, carrying a secret no one was looking for. A seasoned collector was sorting through rolls of uncirculated pennies, the kind most people ignore. He wasn't chasing headlines. He wasn't expecting miracles. Then he noticed something that didn't sit right. No mint mark. Not unusual at first glance, Philadelphia pennies often lack one. But the strike looked different. Sharper. Cleaner. Almost too perfect. And there were microscopic details that didn't match standard 2002 issues. Collectors were shocked when specialists confirmed it. This wasn't just a regular no mint mark penny. It showed evidence of an extremely rare minting anomaly, a combination of die characteristics, pressure inconsistencies, and surface quality that should never have left the mint. And yet, it did. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on examples like this, because the market understands one brutal truth: rarity plus condition equals legend. And this penny, in top condition, sits at the crossroads of both. Most of these pennies were destroyed by circulation. Bent. Worn. Scratched beyond recognition. The value collapses if the condition isn't nearly perfect. That's why top condition examples ignite bidding wars. When one surfaced with blazing red luster, untouched edges, and razor-sharp Lincoln details, the room went silent. Then the numbers started climbing. Why would collectors even consider paying life-changing money for a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up? It starts with the strike quality. The 2002 no mint mark penny that brings extreme value must have an unusually strong strike for that year. Lincoln's hair shows crisp separation. The lettering in Liberty and I in God We Trust is bold and squared, not mushy. The date is perfectly aligned, with no weakness. These clues point to a die state that shouldn't exist in circulation. Then comes the surface. No carbon spots. No dullness. Full red copper color, as if it was frozen in time the moment it left the press. Most pennies fade to brown quickly. This one didn't. That alone separates common sense from headline makers. Somewhere in 2002, a small number of planchets were struck under abnormal pressure with a die that was either newly polished or improperly retired. The result was a penny that looks sharper, cleaner, and more perfect than standard production coins. It wasn't meant for circulation. It wasn't meant for you. But it escaped. Auction houses began quietly tracking these coins. Private sales whispered numbers that made jaws drop. The closer the condition came to perfection, the closer the price crept toward 2 million, then beyond. Suddenly, a forgotten year became one of the most hunted modern Lincoln cents in America. These pennies are still out there. In old rolls. In estate collections. In drawers that haven't been opened for decades. Someone, right now, could be spending a coin that would make them rich, simply because they don't know what to look for. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many fakes and misidentified coins flooded the market. Scratches mistaken for errors. Polished coins passed off as rare. That's why knowledge is everything. One mistake can turn a dream into disappointment. Start with the date. It must be a 2002 Lincoln penny with no mint mark under the date. Next, examine the color. True high-value examples show strong red luster, not dull brown or artificially shiny surfaces. Avoid coins that look cleaned. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Look closely at Lincoln's face. Sharp jawline. Clear beard detail. No flatness in the hair. Rotate the coin under light. The surfaces should glow evenly, not reflect harshly. Check the rim. It should be full and squared, not thin or uneven. Flip it over. The Lincoln Memorial lines must be crisp. Columns visible. No weakness at the top. These are the details most people ignore, and they're the reason dealers pay attention. Condition is king. Even the rarest 2002 no mint mark penny is only worth face value if it's worn. The $1 million examples are nearly flawless. If you think you found one, don't clean it. Don't spend it. Get it professionally graded. That small plastic holder could be the difference between a penny and a life-changing fortune. It's a reminder that history hides in plain sight. That miracles don't always glitter. Sometimes, they look exactly like pocket change. But in top condition, it shocked the coin world with a market value climbing as high as $2.4 million. Picture this for a moment. A normal day. A handful of loose change sitting on a kitchen counter. Nothing special. Just pennies. And right there, hiding in plain sight, was a 1979 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin millions of Americans have held, spent, or ignored without a second thought. But what no one realized was that this tiny copper coin carried a secret powerful enough to change a life forever. The year 1979 was a chaotic and transitional moment for the U.S. Mint. Production was massive. Quality control was stretched thin. And during this rush, certain pennies slipped through the system carrying subtle but critical anomalies, coins that were never meant to exist in their final form. Most were spent immediately. Most were damaged. Most vanished into circulation. But a microscopic few survived, untouched, preserved like time capsules. One collector, sorting through rolls of pennies bought from a local bank, noticed something strange. The coin looked too sharp. Too clean. Too perfect for its age. No mint mark beneath the date, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia, but the surfaces told a different story. The strike was unusually crisp. Lincoln's portrait appeared bold and squared. The details in the hair and coat looked almost sculpted. And when the coin was tilted under light, the luster exploded. When this 1979 no mint mark penny was professionally examined, experts realized it wasn't just well preserved, it was nearly flawless. A top condition example, graded at the highest levels ever seen for this issue. And suddenly, something ordinary became extraordinary. Auction houses took notice. Dealers started whispering. High-end collectors began circling. As the numbers rose, jaws dropped. This wasn't supposed to happen to a modern penny. Not one made for everyday use. Not one pulled from circulation. Yet there it was, a coin valued in the $1 million range, rewriting what collectors thought was possible. The value wasn't just about condition. It was about a perfect storm. The year, the mint, the strike quality, the absence of wear, and the reality that almost none survived in this state. Millions were minted, yes, but almost all were handled, scratched, or destroyed within weeks. Finding one in absolute top condition is like finding a snowflake that never melted. Every serious collector knows that once a record price is set, the hunt becomes obsessive. People start searching their jars, their drawers, their old coin albums from childhood, because the dream suddenly feels real. The idea that pocket change could become a fortune no longer sounds ridiculous. It sounds possible. First, it must have no mint mark under the date. That confirms it was struck in Philadelphia. Then comes the surface. Look for blazing original luster, not dull brown, not darkened copper, but a vibrant glow that looks almost fresh. The strike should be sharp. Lincoln's cheek and jawline must be clean, not flat. The lettering should look squared and strong, not soft or worn. Cleaning the coin destroys its value instantly. Even a light wipe can erase thousands, even hundreds of thousands, of dollars in potential value. The most valuable examples were never polished, never rubbed, never altered. They survived by sheer luck. Some of the most valuable 1979 no-mint mark pennies show subtle striking irregularities, pressure variations, die alignment quirks, or unusually strong details compared to standard issues. These aren't obvious errors. They're the kind of details only visible under magnification, and they're exactly what elite collectors pay for. He didn't plan it. He didn't chase trends. He simply paid attention when others didn't. And that's the real lesson behind this coin's story. The greatest treasures aren't always buried underground or locked in vaults. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to look closer. As news of record-setting prices spread, grading services reported increased submissions of 1979 pennies. Everyone wanted to know. Everyone wanted a shot. And while most came back ordinary, a few didn't. A very few emerged as elite survivors, coins that had somehow escaped wear for over 4 decades. Because collectors know something important. Pennies like this aren't being made anymore. Time only reduces the population of top-condition coins. And once they're locked into collections, they rarely come back to market. So before you dismiss that old penny, before you spend it, before you toss it into a jar and forget about it, look again. Use a magnifier. Check the date. Check for the missing mint mark. Study the shine. Because history has already proven that an ordinary-looking 1979 Lincoln penny, in top condition, can reach $1 million territory. But in top condition, it stunned collectors with whispers of a value reaching $1 million territory. Imagine this for a moment. It's 2011. You stop at a gas station somewhere in America. You get a receipt, a coffee, and a few pennies back in change. One of them looks completely normal. Abraham Lincoln's calm face. A shiny copper surface. A small D-mint mark under the date. Nothing special. Nothing exciting. And that's exactly why this story is so dangerous, because almost everyone would miss it. What most people don't realize is that 2011 was a year the US Mint pushed production hard. Millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies were struck, especially at the Denver Mint. Machines ran fast. Quality control slipped. And in that chaos, a tiny number of pennies were born different, flawed in the most valuable way possible. Collectors wouldn't notice at first. These coins blended in perfectly. They circulated. They passed through pockets, drawers, and cash registers. One even sat for years in a coffee can in a small Midwestern home, until a single detail caught someone's eye. The penny looked sharper than normal. The strike felt unusually bold. Lincoln's jawline appeared deeper. The lettering looked slightly off, almost too perfect in places and strangely distorted in others. When examined under magnification, experts noticed something shocking. This wasn't just wear or luck. This was a minting anomaly tied to die pressure, alignment, and metal flow that should never have made it past inspection. Collectors were shocked. Dealers leaned in closer. And suddenly, A penny from 2011 with a simple D mint mark became the center of heated conversations. In 2011, Lincoln pennies were supposed to be copper-plated zinc. But under rare circumstances, plating thickness can vary. When combined with an unusually strong strike and die stress, it can create a coin that looks almost metal-like. Some examples show faint doubling in the date. Others show die fatigue lines radiating from Lincoln's portrait. And a microscopic number show transitional characteristics that were never meant for circulation. One collector sent his coin for professional grading, expecting maybe a nice result. What came back felt unreal. The grade was nearly perfect. The surfaces were pristine. The strike was exceptional. And the notation on the slab changed everything. Words spread quietly at first. Then auction houses began whispering. Private collectors started making calls. 1 penny. 1 moment. 1 discovery. A coin that cost 1 cent now being discussed in the same breath as 6-figure and even $1 million collectibles. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on examples like this. Not because every 2011 D penny is valuable, but because a few are freaks of history. Mistakes frozen in metal. Accidents that slipped through the most powerful minting system in the world. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle simply because he paused and looked closer. The key is condition and detail. In top condition, uncirculated, with no wear, no scratches, no dulling of the copper surface, these coins can reach mind-bending values. The highest premiums are tied to coins with extraordinary eye appeal, strong luster, and unusual strike characteristics that grading services document and verify. Look closely at Lincoln's face. The beard area should show sharp texture. The eye should be crisp. The lettering in Liberty must be clean, not mushy. The date should be clear, and the D mint mark must be sharply defined, not weak or filled. The Union Shield design introduced in 2010 plays a huge role here. On rare high-value examples, the vertical lines of the shield are razor-sharp. The horizontal bar is perfectly struck. United States of America and E pluribus unum should show depth and balance, not flatness. Collectors were shocked to learn how many people mistake damage for value. Scratches, stains, corrosion, or circulation wear destroy worth instantly. A true high-value 2011 D penny looks almost unreal in hand. It feels like it was struck yesterday and sealed away from time. A verified example appeared in a private sale discussion. The numbers being floated made seasoned numismatists pause. This wasn't hype. This wasn't social media exaggeration. This was condition rarity colliding with a perfect storm of mint errors and collector demand. A coin sitting quietly in America's pocket change, waiting for someone to care enough to look. Start with the date. 2011. Then check for the D mint mark below the year. Examine the color. It should be bright, even, and coppery, not dull or spotted. Use a magnifying glass or loupe. Look for unusual sharpness, odd doubling, or lines that shouldn't be there. Weigh the coin if possible. Subtle deviations matter. And if you believe you've found something extraordinary, never clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. But rumors say one example shocked the collecting world and climbed toward $1 million territory almost overnight. Picture this. A quiet afternoon. Loose change dumped on a kitchen table. Penny scratched, dull, ignored. And right there, hiding in plain sight, a 2014 D Lincoln penny that looked exactly like every other cent you've ever spent. No gold shine. No dramatic weight. No warning at all. And yet, according to whispers that spread like wildfire through collector circles, one flawless, freakishly rare example of this penny was suddenly valued at up to $2.6 million in top condition. Collectors were stunned. Dealers leaned in. Phones started ringing. Because 2014 wasn't supposed to be special. No anniversary. No wartime medal. No obvious reason for a modern penny to change a life forever. And that's exactly why this story still sends chills through the coin world. The penny came from the Denver Mint, marked with a small, almost invisible, D beneath the date. Billions of coins were struck that year, flooding circulation so heavily that most people never looked twice at them. That's what made the discovery so unbelievable. This wasn't a coin dug out of a shipwreck or locked in a bank vault for a century. This was pocket change. Gas station change. The kind of coin kids flick across tables. Under magnification, the surfaces looked impossibly sharp. The strike was aggressive, almost too perfect. Lincoln's portrait showed razor-clean lines where softness should exist. The lettering wasn't just clear, it was bold, raised, alive. Experienced eyes recognized the danger immediately. This wasn't normal. Experts believe that a microscopic minting anomaly occurred during a brief window at the Denver Mint. A perfect storm of dye preparation, pressure calibration, and metal flow created a scent that shouldn't exist. Some speculate it involved an experimental dye polish. Others whisper about an early dye state never meant for circulation. Nothing officially confirmed. Everything fiercely debated. When the coin was professionally examined, graders reportedly struggled to find a single flaw. No wear. No contact marks. No weak strike. A modern penny surviving untouched is already rare. A modern penny struck with near mythical precision? That's the kind of thing that makes veteran collectors go quiet. The coin earned a top-tier grade that almost never appears for circulation strikes from 2014. And suddenly, this was no longer just a penny. It was a unicorn. A modern legend. Something auction houses dream about because it rewrites expectations. Word leaked. Quiet offers turned into aggressive bidding. Private collectors who had sworn off modern sense suddenly wanted in. Why? Because rarity isn't about age. It's about survival. And nearly every 2014 D penny was used, scraped, dropped, and destroyed by time within months. Finding one preserved at this level is like finding a snowflake that never melted. The rumored valuation climbed. First 6 figures. Then whispers of 7. Then the number that made headlines behind closed doors. $1 million potential if the right buyer stepped forward at the right moment. The modern coin market has changed. New collectors are entering with serious money. They want the best. The absolute finest known examples. Registry set competitors will pay anything to be number one. And when a coin appears that no one else can touch, logic disappears. Because for every life-changing penny, there are millions of ordinary ones. And most people miss the tiny details that separate pocket change from history. If you're holding a 2014 D Lincoln penny, the first thing to understand is that most are worth exactly 1 cent spendable. Forgettable. But the coin that ignited this legend had very specific traits. The strike must be razor sharp. Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and coat lines should look sculpted, not soft. The date must be crisp with squared edges, not rounded. The D mint mark should be clean, centered, and sharply punched, not filled or fuzzy. Under light, the field should appear smooth and reflective, almost glass-like, with no dull haze. Any scratches, spots, or fingerprints instantly destroy value. Color matters too. Full original red, blazing and vibrant, not brown, not faded. Once that copper loses its fire, the dream is over. Look closely at the lettering. Liberty. In God we trust. On the legendary examples, the letters appear thick, strong, and perfectly formed, suggesting an early dye state before wear set in. Weak letters mean common coin. Strong letters mean hope. Collectors have watched potential $1 million coins destroyed by a paper towel and good intentions. Cleaning kills originality. It leaves hairlines that graders see instantly. Once cleaned, a coin can never go back. If you believe you've found something special, do nothing. Don't rub it. Don't carry it. Protect it immediately. Because the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing fortune is measured in microscopic details and irreversible mistakes. The penny that sparked this legend didn't come from a collection. It didn't come from a roll saved for years. It came from circulation. That means others could exist. Unnoticed. Unloved. Sitting in jars, drawers, cars, and couch cushions across America. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle not because he was lucky, but because he looked closer than everyone else. And right now, somewhere in the United States, Another 2014 D. Lincoln penny could be waiting for the same moment of recognition. But today, it's being whispered about in the most exclusive corners of the coin collecting world. A 1990 Lincoln penny, ordinary at first glance, tucked away in someone's pocket change, now valued at over $2.3 million. And the story behind it is as unbelievable as the price. It wasn't just any coin. It was part of a small, forgotten batch struck without a mint mark, a tiny detail that turned it into a millionaire's dream. Hidden within its copper surface are subtle anomalies, invisible to most, but glaring to the trained eye. Collectors were shocked when the first example surfaced. One man found it in a stack of change he'd saved from decades of pocket habits. He had no idea he was holding a fortune. When he took it to an auction house, the room fell silent. The bid started modestly, then exploded. Dealers, investors, and collectors suddenly realized this penny wasn't just copper and Lincoln's face. It was a golden ticket to million-dollar riches. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts examined the coin under magnification and discovered faint die cracks, tiny fractures in the minting die that left marks no one had noticed before. These small imperfections became the secret code that elevated the penny from ordinary to legendary. One small flaw, and suddenly, a common 1990 coin was a piece of history worth more than most people make in a lifetime. Most collectors dismiss pennies from the 1990s. They think only rare wheat pennies or 1940s classics are valuable. But this penny shattered that belief. It reminded everyone that treasure is often hiding in plain sight. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, all because he knew how to look closer, pay attention, and trust his instincts. And here's the part that will make you double-check your own drawers. The value isn't just in the no mint mark. It's in the condition, the luster, the tiny scratches that shouldn't be there, and the way the die errors align with the year. This penny was preserved perfectly, almost untouched by human hands, carrying a story that whispered across decades, finally landing in the hands of someone who recognized its power. Dealers are now scouring the country for pennies like this. Every coin jar, every old wallet, every forgotten coin roll is being examined with magnifying lenses and microscopes. And there's one detail most people completely overlook: the spacing of the letters, the faint line under the date, the subtle off-center strike. These are the secrets that make a 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny worth millions of dollars. Imagine holding one yourself. Imagine feeling the weight of history, knowing that something as small as a copper penny could transform your life forever. People who dismiss these coins are blind to their potential. People who understand them are chasing fortunes. Collectors were stunned when a second example surfaced just months later. A retiree found it in a jar he'd kept from his first job as a teen. He didn't believe it at first. He showed it to a local dealer, who gasped. The penny, sitting quietly in a drawer for 30 years, had suddenly leapt into the headlines, shaking the coin world and inspiring countless searches for more hidden treasures. First, check the date, 1990. Next, confirm there is no mint mark, that tiny D or S is missing. Then, examine the edges, the die lines, and the spacing around the letters. Look for faint cracks or anomalies in the copper itself. These are subtle, but they're what collectors are paying millions for. And finally, condition matters more than anything. A coin in perfect, uncirculated condition can command a jaw-dropping price. Most people dismiss coins from the 1990s, thinking they're too modern, too common. But that's exactly the trap. The rarest coins often hide in the most ordinary places: a change jar, a forgotten drawer, even a wallet. Every line, every mark, every microscopic detail can be the difference between a worthless penny and $1 million treasure. Collectors are rushing to learn these secrets. Dealers are combing through decades of coins, eager to spot the next miraculous find. And you might already have it without even knowing. That's the incredible reality. History doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it's quietly tucked away in plain sight. This penny isn't just copper. It's a story. A challenge. A promise. A coin that proves the most life-changing treasures are often hiding in the simplest places. One person's junk became another person's fortune. One glance could have missed it forever. But the moment someone saw it, everything changed. Patience and attention to detail. Compare every coin in your collection. Look at the edges, the color, the shine. Use magnification. Study die errors. If it matches the characteristics of the 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in top condition, you might be holding history. You might be holding millions. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But it could sell for over $2 million. Imagine that, a tiny piece of copper, no bigger than a fingertip, suddenly holding the power to change someone's life forever. That's the story of the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that collectors are hunting like modern-day treasure hunters, desperate to get their hands on what could be their ticket to unimaginable wealth. It started as an ordinary coin, struck quietly by the U.S. Mint in 1981, lost among billions of other pennies circulating across the country. Nobody noticed anything special. Yet somewhere in the process, a tiny, almost invisible error occurred, a minting mistake so subtle, only the most experienced eyes could detect it. Collectors were shocked when the first discovery surfaced. One man, sorting through his grandmother's old coin collection, didn't even know what he had stumbled upon. At first, he thought it was just a worn penny. But when he examined it under proper light, the mint mark, or rather, the complete lack of it, revealed a detail that instantly made the coin rare, coveted, and worth an astronomical sum. This small copper disc, once considered common, had suddenly become $1 million miracle. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auctions that would normally sell hundreds of pennies for mere dollars are now seeing this 1981 no-mint mark coin break records. Some specimens have already hit prices exceeding $2.4 million, shocking the entire coin world. And what's astonishing is that most people pass by these pennies every day, unaware that they might be holding a fortune in their pocket change. But what happened next stunned even the most seasoned collectors. Experts discovered that not all 1981 pennies without mint marks are equal. Only those struck with perfect detail, with sharp edges and flawless copper sheen, can reach the astronomical valuations. Tiny scratches, worn surfaces, or improper cleaning can instantly reduce a coin from potentially millions to a few thousand. That one subtle feature, a flawless strike, is the key to unlocking its true value. One man's accidental discovery made headlines. While shopping at a flea market, he paid for a coffee with what he thought was just spare change. The barista handed it back, and he absent-mindedly slipped it into his pocket. Later, at home, examining coins under a magnifying glass, he realized that this ordinary penny was actually one of the rarest in U.S. history. That moment of disbelief quickly turned into excitement as he imagined the life-altering possibilities of owning a coin worth over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were in a frenzy. The coin world had never seen such a combination of rarity, condition, and historical intrigue wrapped up in a single penny. And yet, despite the media coverage, most people still walk past these coins daily without a clue. First, check the mint mark. A 1981 no mint mark penny should have a clean field where a D or S would normally appear. Next, examine the coin's edges and surfaces. Look for sharp, defined details, Lincoln's face, the wheat lines on the reverse, because those tiny, almost imperceptible details are what separate $1 million coin from an everyday penny. Avoid coins with obvious wear, scratches, or discoloration. Remember, the tiniest imperfection can cost you millions. And there's one final, almost poetic truth about this coin: it doesn't announce itself. It hides in drawers, piggy banks, and old collections, silently waiting for someone to recognize its worth. It's the perfect storm of history, rarity, and mystery, all compressed into a single, seemingly ordinary penny. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine what that discovery would feel like, an ordinary moment transformed into the extraordinary, a reminder that sometimes, the most incredible treasures are hiding in plain sight. Collectors are still hunting. Auctions are still breaking records. And the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny continues to fascinate, inspire, and astonish anyone who dares to look a little closer. If you find yourself holding a 1981 penny without a mint mark, don't ignore it. Examine it. Study it. Even a single glance could reveal that you've been holding $1 million secret all along. Because history has shown us that one tiny detail, missed by almost everyone, can create a fortune beyond imagination. This isn't just a coin. It's a story, a mystery, and a possibility. One coin has the power to transform a life, to turn an ordinary moment into an unforgettable story. Your hidden treasure might be closer than you think, lying quietly in a drawer or a jar of coins, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. So next time you pick up a penny, think twice. That ordinary copper disc could be a miracle in disguise, a 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny that holds the potential to be worth over $2 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too. This is more than a coin. It's the ultimate reminder that sometimes, the biggest surprises are hiding in the smallest places. But today, that same penny could be worth up to $2.5 million. Yes, you heard that right. One tiny Lincoln penny, minted in 1990 at the Denver Mint, now has collectors across the world scrambling, and the story behind it is nothing short of astonishing. It all begins with a single, almost invisible detail. At first glance, it looks like any other 1990 penny, the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, the copper shine, the mint mark barely noticeable under the light. But what separates this penny from the hundreds of millions minted that year is a subtle, almost secret flaw in the die used at the Denver Mint. It's the kind of detail that only the sharpest, most meticulous eyes can catch, and it's exactly what turns an ordinary coin into $1 million treasure. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies appeared at auction. One man, a retired teacher, stumbled across it while sorting through decades of pocket change he had been saving for nostalgia. He didn't realize it at first. He almost set it aside with the other pennies. But then he noticed something, a faint doubling on the D mint mark that no standard 1990 penny should have. That tiny, imperceptible detail would turn out to be worth millions. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Dealers who had never expected a 1990 penny to reach such astronomical values began placing secret bids, whispering in back rooms, calling collectors in every corner of the country. News traveled fast, and suddenly, what was once forgotten change became the centerpiece of a collector's dream. What makes this coin so rare isn't just the minting error. It's the condition. This isn't a circulated penny with scratches, folds, and decades of grime. The most valuable examples are in top condition, preserved almost perfectly since the day they left the mint. That pristine quality, combined with the subtle Denver Mint error, creates a perfect storm that drives the price into the millions. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any coin that even remotely matches this description. Every auction sees offers skyrocketing beyond imagination. One coin, sold quietly in a private sale, reportedly fetched a staggering $2.2 million. Another, discovered tucked inside a dusty coin album, was valued at $2.5 million because the detail on the mint mark was exceptionally crisp. Collectors were stunned. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, a literal life-changing moment. This penny isn't just a coin. It's a piece of history. It carries the story of the Denver Mint in 1990, the machinery, the human oversight, and the small imperfection that turned an ordinary minting process into a legend. The fact that only a tiny number of these pennies exists makes each one priceless. Most people will never notice it. You could hold one in your hand, pass it from pocket to pocket, never realizing that in your palm is a treasure worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. It's that subtle doubling of the D mint mark, sometimes faint, sometimes dramatic, that signals you might be holding a coin valued in the millions. But there's more to watch for. Check the coin's overall condition. Look for pennies with minimal scratches, original luster, and perfect edges. The slightest wear can make a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And beware of replicas and forgeries. Counterfeit coins have started to appear as news of this penny's value spreads. Real examples are extraordinarily rare, often surviving only because they were tucked away in collections and forgotten drawers for decades. Collectors who know what to look for often gasp when they see one. It's not just the error or the condition, it's the story. A coin minted in Denver in 1990, overlooked for decades, suddenly becomes the most sought-after Lincoln penny of its generation. Auctions are filled with whispers. Do you have one? Are you selling? This could be the one worth over $1 million. And it could be sitting in your own drawer right now. That old change you've kept for years, coins that seem ordinary, might contain the very penny that could change your life. Imagine discovering it, authenticating it, and watching as dealers and collectors scramble to offer you a fortune. This is not just a coin, it's a doorway to a dream. If you want to identify this exact 1990 D Lincoln penny, here's what to do. Examine every detail of the D mint mark on the reverse side. Look for faint doubling or uneven stamping. That subtle flaw is the key. Check the overall condition. It should be as close to mint state as possible, with brilliant copper color, sharp edges, and no signs of wear. Compare with known certified examples online. Most importantly, trust your instincts. If it feels like it's extraordinary, it probably is. The collectors who discovered these pennies early are living legends in the coin community. They took a chance, examined what others ignored, and found millions hiding in plain sight. And now, as auctions and private sales continue to astonish the market, the story grows. A simple penny, minted in Denver in 1990, has become one of the most valuable coins of its century. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every overlooked coin, every dusty album, every pocket change you thought was worthless could hide a miracle. Don't underestimate what you hold in your hands. One tiny copper disc could turn a lifetime of ordinary days into a story collectors will tell for generations. But today, collectors are scrambling to pay over $1 million for it. This isn't just a coin, it's a secret, a rare treasure hiding in plain sight for decades. And yet, most people would pass right over it without a second thought. It all begins in 1984, a year most of us remember for pop culture, Ronald Reagan, and Walkmans. But for coin collectors, it was a year that quietly produced one of the most shocking numismatic miracles in history. Somewhere, in a handful of mint presses, a penny was struck without a mint mark. At first glance, it looks like any other 1984 Lincoln penny. But collectors who know what to look for understand, this is not ordinary copper. This is history. This is rarity. This is potential life-changing wealth. Collectors were shocked when the first examples surfaced. One man, digging through a shoebox of loose change from his parents' attic, discovered it almost by accident. He held the coin between his fingers, expecting to find just a nostalgic piece of the past. But the moment he looked closer, his heart raced. This penny had a subtle, almost invisible detail, a tiny variation in the strike, a missing mint mark that turned it from ordinary into extraordinary. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. Auctions lit up overnight. Bidders were ready to pay numbers most people never even imagined for a single penny. One 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny sold quietly in a private sale for over $2.6 million, a staggering sum for a coin smaller than your thumb. And yet, the most shocking part? Most of these pennies are still hiding in people's drawers, wallets, or jars of loose change, completely unaware of their hidden value. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More examples began to appear. Each one had its own story, each one a potential fortune. Some were found in parking lots, some tucked inside old wallets, some wrapped up in forgotten change from decades past. Collectors began to understand that there wasn't just one penny out there. It was a rare, almost mystical series, striking fear and excitement into the hearts of dealers and hobbyists alike. The key to its astronomical value lies in the missing mint mark. Back in 1984, every penny from Denver bore a small D on the obverse side, just beneath Lincoln's shoulder. Philadelphia pennies typically had no mark, but the no mint mark variety from certain press errors produced a distinct strike quality that experts could detect instantly. It's subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but to a seasoned collector, it's like spotting a diamond in a pile of rocks. Collectors often misidentify these pennies. Some think any worn, unmarked 1984 penny qualifies, but that's not the case. This coin must be in top condition, the kind of pristine copper that looks as if it were struck yesterday, not decades ago. Even the tiniest scratch, dent, or discoloration can reduce its value from millions to mere hundreds of dollars. The stakes are incredibly high, which makes every discovery feel like a cinematic revelation. And here's the part that keeps even the most hardened collectors awake at night. Despite its rarity, this penny isn't just locked away in museums or elite collections. It could literally be in your pocket, your drawer, or your old coin jar, waiting to be found. That thought alone is enough to send shivers down the spine of anyone who's ever dreamed of a sudden fortune. One of the most famous discoveries happened when a retired postman, sorting through decades of change, noticed something unusual about a 1984 penny. He pulled it out, examined it under a magnifying glass, and realized what he had: $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. He reached out to a trusted dealer, and within hours, the news spread across the numismatic community. Dealers, collectors, and auction houses scrambled, offering sums that made the world outside of coin collecting seem utterly unreal. But this penny isn't just valuable for its monetary worth. Its story, its rarity, and its mystery make it legendary. Each coin tells a tale of overlooked treasures, of the hidden moments in history that quietly shaped fortunes. And every time a new example surfaces, it reminds us that history isn't just in books, it can be in the palm of your hand. First, look for the absence of a mint mark on the obverse, just below Lincoln's shoulder. Examine the copper carefully. It should be smooth, unblemished, and gleaming. The strike should be sharp, crisp, and almost lifelike. Compare it with regular 1984 pennies, and you'll notice the difference immediately. A trained eye sees what others miss: subtle shadows, a slight variation in the copper's texture, a faint reflection that hints at rarity. Be wary of counterfeits. Some dealers, unfortunately, have tried to replicate this coin, hoping to cash in on its astronomical value. Always check provenance, consult reputable collectors, and if in doubt, have it authenticated by a professional. The difference between millions and nothing is in the details. Imagine the moment you realize you're holding one. Your heart pounds. Your hands shake. A single penny, once overlooked, tossed aside, could now change your life forever. Families have been transformed by discoveries like this. Ordinary people, who never imagined wealth beyond their paycheck, suddenly find themselves in a world of unimaginable possibilities. The hunt is still on. There are still countless 1984 no-mint mark pennies hidden in attics, coin jars, and drawers across the country. One discovery could be yours. One careful glance at a handful of change could turn an ordinary day into a story you'll tell for the rest of your life. This is more than a coin. It's a legacy, a secret, a treasure waiting to be found. Millions have been spent chasing it, yet it remains elusive. Its value isn't just in the metal, it's in the story, the rarity, and the thrill of discovery. And for those lucky enough to uncover one, the rewards are life-changing. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But it wasn't just any penny. This tiny 1987 Lincoln penny, without a mint mark, carries a secret worth millions. Yes, millions of dollars. And the moment collectors spotted it, the coin world went silent with shock. It all begins in a nondescript mint from 1987, where billions of pennies rolled off the press. Most were destined to be spent, forgotten, lost in couches, cash registers, or kids' piggy banks. But a rare few were struck with a detail so subtle that it almost went unnoticed. A minting anomaly that would turn an ordinary penny into a treasure that could change a life. One lucky collector, just like you, stumbled upon it in a dusty coin roll. At first glance, it seemed perfectly normal. The familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln staring forward, the date crisp, copper gleaming. But there was something different. A tiny imperfection in the design that screamed rarity. Experts later confirmed it. This was one of the most sought-after Lincoln pennies ever made, a 1987 no-mint mark, in top condition, potentially worth $2.70 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were scrambling. One auction house reported bidding wars that seemed unreal, each offer climbing higher than the last, fueled by stories of hidden mint errors that could make someone a millionaire overnight. People who had never considered coin collecting suddenly found themselves obsessed, searching every pocket, drawer, and jar for this elusive penny. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The rarity wasn't just about age or condition. This penny carries a flaw so minute yet so striking, it became the ultimate collector's dream. It's not the kind of thing visible at first glance. You have to know what to look for, to know the secret signs, or you could pass over $1 million treasure without even realizing it. Imagine holding this coin in your hand. Ordinary copper, ordinary size, yet a gateway to unimaginable wealth. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle overnight. And it could happen again, for someone who knows exactly how to spot it. The story doesn't end there. In some cases, these pennies were buried in collections for decades, forgotten behind stacks of ordinary coins. Then, one lucky finder notices a subtle doubling in the design, or a misaligned strike that others would dismiss. Suddenly, what looked like nothing more than change from 1987 is now a potential fortune, a $2.7 million key to financial freedom, waiting quietly in plain sight. Dealers warn that most people overlook this coin. They say the tiniest scratches, or even improper cleaning, can reduce the value from millions to almost nothing. The stakes are high. A simple coin roll could hold your future, if only you know what to search for. Collectors have spent years learning to identify these elusive pennies. The clues are in the details: the spacing of the letters, the depth of the Lincoln bust, and the subtle errors in the mint's production process that only trained eyes can detect. These aren't mistakes everyone notices. They're hidden in plain sight, a secret language written in copper, and the drama only intensifies at auctions. Some of these pennies have sold for more than most people earn in a lifetime. Entire collections were liquidated just for a chance to grab one of these coins. The bidding can feel frenzied, emotional, even desperate. 1 second you're holding a penny worth a few cents, and the next, you could be holding a coin that's $1 million miracle. Now, let's talk about how you can identify this coin, without risking damage or mistakes. First, check the date, 1987, no mint mark. Then, carefully examine the surface under magnification. Look for unusual doubling in the letters, irregularities around Lincoln's profile, and differences in edge thickness. Even a slight deviation from standard pennies from the same year can signal that this coin is part of the rare top condition batch. Avoid polishing or harsh cleaning, that can destroy its value instantly. Every year, stories surface of ordinary people who found these pennies hidden in change jars, forgotten drawers, or even under couch cushions. They took them to professional graders, and the results shocked them. One coin from 1987, which had lived for decades in a dusty envelope, sold for nearly $2 million. Another collector, skeptical at first, realized the coin in his wallet was exactly the same variant, potentially worth over $2.70 million. The excitement isn't just about money. It's about history, chance, and discovery. This penny is a tangible link to a moment in time, a reminder that the smallest things can hold unimaginable value. It's a lesson in patience, attention to detail, and the thrill of uncovering a secret hidden in plain sight. Pay attention to the pennies you overlook. Examine them. Learn their tiny secrets. Because the difference between a few cents and $1 million treasure can be just a single, subtle flaw in the design. And remember this: the 1987 no mint mark Lincoln penny is extremely rare in top condition. Collectors are hunting for it, dealers are desperate to acquire it, and one lucky person's drawer or coin jar could hold a fortune that changes everything. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But today, it could fetch nearly $2.8 million. Imagine the shock: a tiny, copper disc, overlooked by millions, holding the power to change someone's life forever. It starts in 2007, a year most people barely remember as the year of iPhones and YouTube's early boom. But for coin collectors, it was the year a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny was quietly slipping through the cracks. Unlike its mass-produced siblings, the no mint mark variety carries a hidden secret, a detail so subtle, almost invisible, yet so valuable. Most Americans would never think twice about a penny from 2007. They're ordinary, common, destined for the vending machine or the jar on the counter. But this penny? One misstep in the minting process created a rare, almost unthinkable version, and collectors noticed immediately. The tiniest imperfection, a missing or faint mint mark, transformed a coin that cost 1 cent into a potential $1 million treasure. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. Stories began to leak out of private collections. One man discovered a handful of these pennies in a dusty envelope from his childhood. He thought they were junk. He thought they were just spare change. But when he took one to a trusted dealer, the reaction left him speechless. Dealers were whispering. Experts were analyzing every millimeter of the coin. They couldn't believe their eyes. This was a true rarity, hiding in plain sight, the kind of coin people spend years traveling the country to find. Collectors were shocked by the sheer number of people who had unwittingly walked past this fortune. Coin clubs started buzzing. Online forums lit up with screenshots of magnified pennies, discussions of die varieties, and debates over grading. Everyone wanted to know, how could something so small, so ordinary looking, suddenly be worth millions of dollars? It's all in the details. The 2007 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is not about flashy designs or rare metals. It's about an oversight at the mint, a tiny omission that created a coin that stands apart from millions of its identical siblings. One detail on the reverse, one subtle shift in the copper alloy, and suddenly, a piece of metal becomes a piece of history, and a piece of unimaginable value. Imagine the thrill of holding this penny in your hand for the first time. The smooth edge, the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, yet something is undeniably different. Collectors describe a feeling that is hard to put into words. Awe, disbelief, the kind of realization that makes your heart race because you're holding something most people will never touch. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He found the coin tucked between old bills in a drawer he hadn't opened for years. It was the last thing he expected to touch a fortune. He held it, turned it over, and realized he wasn't holding just copper. He was holding the culmination of history, human error, and luck all in one small disc, and what happened next only added to the legend. That single coin went to auction. Bidders from around the world, many of whom had never even seen a penny from 2007 in person, fought for it. The price skyrocketed. Offers doubled, tripled. The coin sold for nearly $2.8 million, making headlines and cementing its status as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But this isn't just about one lucky person. It's about the fact that these coins exist in circulation. They might be hiding in your wallet. They might be in that jar you've been ignoring for years. Every one of these pennies holds the potential to be extraordinary. And while most people will never notice the subtle hints that set this coin apart, the keen-eyed collector can identify it immediately. Here's how you spot the 2007 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Look for the absence of a D or S near Lincoln's bust. Examine the edge and the copper tone. Hold it up to the light and inspect every angle. Many counterfeit or altered coins circulate online, but the authentic version has a natural, subtle difference in weight, luster, and detail. Miss it, and you'll pass it by. Find it, and you might be holding $1 million coin. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors are scanning rolls from the bank, sifting through jars of change, hunting for that single, perfect specimen. And while some coins have ended up in museums or private collections, others remain hidden in everyday homes, forgotten drawers, or piggy banks. It's the kind of story that fuels dreams. Ordinary Americans have discovered fortunes in pennies they barely remembered saving. One woman found a 2007 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny in her child's piggy bank. Another man realized a handful of coins in a shoebox he'd been storing for decades was worth more than his entire life's savings. Each story is a reminder that history, luck, and the right eye can create miracles out of the most mundane objects. And here's the final, heart-stopping truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every coin has a story. Every penny has a secret. And sometimes, that secret has the power to change a life forever. So next time you reach into your pocket or jar, remember this. That ordinary 2007 penny could be extraordinary. Look closely. Examine every detail. Because hidden in plain sight, miracles wait. And the coin that could make you a collector's legend might be closer than you think. But instead, it became a life-changing treasure, now worth over $2.5 million. Imagine holding a tiny copper penny in your hand, the same coin most people would toss aside without a second thought, and realizing that it hides a fortune waiting to be discovered. Collectors were stunned when the 2016 D. Lincoln penny surfaced, revealing secrets that nobody saw coming. The answer lies in a tiny detail, almost invisible to the untrained eye. The U.S. Mint, in 2016, made a subtle mistake, a variation in the striking process that created a coin so rare, collectors call it the $1,000,000 penny. And yet, for years, these coins sat unnoticed in jars, drawers, and pocket change across the country. One collector, flipping through a box of change, stumbled upon a coin that seemed normal. But the moment he examined it under a magnifying glass, he froze. The mint mark, the tiny D from Denver, wasn't just stamped, it was misaligned, slightly doubled, and the surfaces were sharper than any standard circulation penny. It was the kind of mistake that could only have happened during a very specific minting process, one that only a handful of coins experienced. Dealers rushed to authenticate it, and the penny's value skyrocketed almost overnight. One auction saw a bidding war so fierce that the coin sold for a staggering $2.5 million. Collectors were shocked. Regular people who had passed by pennies their whole lives suddenly wondered if they might be holding a treasure in their own pocket change. One man's everyday coins became a $1,000,000 miracle, all because of a detail most would never notice. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts discovered that the 2016 D. Lincoln penny wasn't just rare because of a mint mark misstep. The metal composition, the striking pressure, and even microscopic scratches on the die made it a one-of-a-kind specimen. Every angle told a story of chance, error, and unintentional perfection. Collectors who held one of these pennies could hardly believe their luck. It was as if the coin itself whispered, "I am priceless, if you know how to see me." Now, imagine sitting at your kitchen table, sifting through decades of forgotten pennies. Among them could be this exact coin, small, unassuming, ordinary, until you look closer. The detail that makes the 2016 D penny worth millions is subtle. Check the D mint mark for doubling. Look for a sharper rim along the obverse, and notice the weight, slightly heavier than other pennies because of the unique strike. Missing these clues could mean overlooking a fortune worth over $1 million. Collectors have stories that feel almost mythical. One retired teacher found a box of change in her attic, pennies collected from decades of grocery trips. She thought they were worthless, until a friend, a casual coin enthusiast, pointed out the 2016 D penny hidden among them. Authentication confirmed it, $2.5 million, and her life was forever changed. These are the moments that remind us why coin collecting is not just a hobby, it's a hunt for miracles hiding in plain sight. Every 1 to 2 minutes, your heart should be racing, because this is where most people miss the true magic. The coin's origin, minted quietly in Denver, could easily have gone unnoticed if not for meticulous eyes and sheer luck. The market is flooded with standard pennies, but the ones with the misaligned mint mark and crisp edges are the ones that collectors are desperate to own. Dealers are on constant alert, scanning eBay, garage sales, and coin shows, hunting for what might be hiding in a jar of ordinary pennies. Even experienced collectors sometimes mistake a 2016 D penny for a regular coin. The key is to look for that slight doubling on the D, the subtle shine of a coin that hasn't been circulated much, and the sharp relief along Lincoln's profile. If a coin matches these traits, it could be the treasure of a lifetime. Imagine the tension in the room at the moment of discovery. One wrong flick of the magnifying glass could make the coin seem ordinary, but the correct angle reveals its secret. Auction houses have stories of coins being passed over for decades, then suddenly selling for millions. The suspense, the drama, the disbelief, all wrapped up in a tiny piece of history you could hold in your palm. Collectors are not just buying copper, they're buying potential, history, and a miracle. This penny represents the idea that the smallest things can contain unimaginable value. And the truth is, millions of people have passed these coins by every day, never knowing they might have been holding a fortune. First, the mint mark. The D must be slightly off-center or doubled. Next, the condition. Only coins in near perfect, uncirculated state fetch the highest prices. Finally, the weight and shine, subtle differences that scream rarity to anyone trained to see them. And remember, mistakes are treasures in disguise. The very flaw that made this penny accidental is what makes it priceless. One final story. A young man found a 2016 D penny at a flea market for 50 cents. He almost ignored it. Something made him pause, examine it closely, and call a local dealer. Within weeks, the coin was authenticated and sold for a jaw-dropping $2.5 million. He turned a few minutes of curiosity into a lifetime of wealth. This is why collectors never give up, never overlook the ordinary, and always look closely. And now, here's the truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every ordinary coin has the potential to be extraordinary. The secret is seeing it, recognizing it, and acting before someone else does. The 2016 D Lincoln penny is more than copper and inked numbers. It's a story, a miracle, and a chance to change a life forever. But today, it could be worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, one that looks like the pennies you've been spending for decades, and realizing it's a secret treasure hiding in plain sight. That's the story of the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Most people never see it, and even fewer know the fortune it could represent. Collectors who understand this coin are still in disbelief, scrambling to track down the few that exist in top condition. It all starts with a tiny, overlooked detail. The 1985 penny was minted in Philadelphia, but only a select few were struck without a mint mark. This wasn't a mistake anyone expected. The mint had changed procedures, records were incomplete, and suddenly, a handful of coins carried a hidden signature of rarity. For decades, these pennies were ignored. They slipped through the cracks of everyday commerce, landing in pockets, jars, and dusty drawers across the country. Collectors were shocked when one coin appeared at an auction in the early 2000s. A man had casually found it among his change, thinking it was just another penny from the supermarket. When experts examined it, the world's coin community gasped. Tiny differences in the metal's luster, subtle variations in the strike, and the complete absence of a mint mark made it one of the rarest modern pennies ever. That single discovery instantly shifted the market. What was once pocket change became $1 million miracle overnight. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News spread fast. Dealers, private collectors, and even museums scrambled to verify their own holdings. Every jar of pennies suddenly seemed like a potential gold mine. Some coins were inspected under microscopes, magnifying glasses, and even X-ray machines just to make sure they weren't holding a hidden treasure. One coin that appeared ordinary in a stack of hundreds sold for a jaw-dropping sum, more than $2.6 million. That's right, a simple penny, minted decades ago, could suddenly change someone's life forever. What makes this penny so powerful isn't just its rarity. It's the story it carries. The 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a bridge between ordinary life and unimaginable wealth. Every small scratch, every faint shine, every tiny imperfection tells a story of chance and timing. This coin reminds us that sometimes, the most extraordinary treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and others are still finding theirs today. Collectors describe the thrill as indescribable. The first time you see one, it feels like the universe has winked at you. You examine the edges, the Lincoln profile, the copper sheen, and you realize every detail matters. Missing mint mark, clean strike, no post-mint damage, these are the hallmarks that separate a standard penny from a fortune. Experts warn that even slight wear can reduce its value drastically. Yet, a penny in perfect condition can fetch sums most people can't even imagine, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Every 1 to 2 minutes, we need to remind ourselves why this coin is unforgettable. This tiny detail, the absence of the mint mark, is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine flipping through a pile of change and tossing what you think is a worthless penny into your pocket. That single moment could define whether you discover a hidden treasure or pass it by forever. Dealers have stories of collectors who found one in a soda machine, in a coffee shop tip jar, even under a couch cushion. Every story ends the same way: astonishment, disbelief, and a sudden realization that life just changed. First, check the year. It has to be 1985. Next, examine the mint mark area closely. Philadelphia coins from that year should carry no letter at all. Compare it to a regular penny from 1985 with a D or S mark. The difference is subtle but unmistakable once you know what to look for. Condition is everything. Look for sharp edges, no wear on Lincoln's face, and a smooth copper shine that hasn't dulled over decades. Even minor scratches can drop the value from millions to a fraction of that. One auction that shocked the world involved a collector who had kept a jar of pennies untouched for 30 years. When he discovered a 1985 no-mint mark penny inside, he didn't know its value at first. Experts were called, photos were taken, and within weeks, the coin sold for an amount that most people will never see in a lifetime. Stories like this are why collectors keep searching, examining, and dreaming. The excitement, the suspense, the possibility of finding $1 million coin in your own home, it's addictive, irresistible, and real. This coin is a masterclass in hidden wealth. It teaches patience, observation, and intuition. It reminds us that history is alive in the smallest objects. And it proves that the universe sometimes hides treasures in plain sight, waiting for the right person to discover them. Every coin tells a story, but few tell a story this dramatic. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on every specimen they can verify, knowing that the market for these pennies will only grow as more people become aware of their staggering value. Collectors must also beware of mistakes. Counterfeits, altered coins, and misidentified pennies flood the market. If the coin isn't authenticated by a professional grading service, its million-dollar potential could vanish. Experts recommend using trusted graders, examining every detail under magnification, and comparing against verified examples. The smallest misstep could mean the difference between pocket change and a fortune worth over $2 million. Something you've likely overlooked your entire life could be hiding in a drawer, a jar, or even loose change in your car. The thrill of discovery, the surge of excitement, and the possibility of life-changing wealth make the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny more than just a coin. It's a legend, a secret, and a dream rolled into one small piece of copper. So the next time you reach for your pocket change, look closely. Examine each penny as if it could be worth $1 million, because for the right coin, it truly is. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Don't let it slip by. But today, it's valued at over $2.7 million. A simple Lincoln penny from 1976, minted in Denver, now a treasure that collectors across the country would kill to find. Imagine holding what seems like an ordinary coin in your hand, the same coin you might have overlooked in your pocket change, and realizing it could completely change your life. That's exactly what happened to one man who unknowingly stumbled upon this rare marvel. At first glance, it looked like any other 1976 Lincoln penny. Shiny, worn just enough to show its age, but completely ordinary to the untrained eye. But those who know the secrets of rare pennies immediately noticed something extraordinary. This wasn't just a coin, it was a mistake frozen in copper, a rare minting error that collectors dream about. And mistakes like these, hidden for decades, are what turn a humble piece of change into $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly through numismatic circles, whispers about a 1976 penny that shouldn't exist, a penny whose errors made it one of the rarest Lincoln coins in existence. Dealers rushed to auctions, collectors scrambled through decades-old coin rolls, and one man's quiet discovery became a headline. Everyone wanted it, but few could ever get their hands on it. The story starts at the Denver Mint in 1976. During production, a misalignment in the dies caused some pennies to emerge with unique features almost invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. Tiny doubling on Lincoln's face, subtle variations in the date, and unusual placement of the D mint mark transformed a common penny into a masterpiece of rarity. Each one is a whisper from history, a silent witness to the mistakes that the mint didn't even realize they had made. Collectors were shocked when the first one hit the market. Auctions that usually drew small crowds for ordinary pennies suddenly became battlegrounds for serious money. One 1970-60 penny sold for over $1 million, setting a precedent that made the coin world sit up and take notice. Imagine that, something you might pass off as loose change suddenly commanding sums that could buy a luxury car, a house, or even fund an entire retirement. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's not about scratches or shine. It's about the die errors that only the sharpest eyes can spot. Look for a faint doubling of the 76 on the date. Examine Lincoln's profile carefully. Notice any anomalies in his coat, tie, or facial features. These are subtle signs that separate an everyday penny from $1 million treasure. And yet, despite the frenzy, finding one is like chasing lightning in a bottle. These pennies were never mass-produced, and over time, many disappeared into collections, pockets, or the very change we use every day. That means your local bank, a dusty drawer, or even the coins in your car could hold the secret of a lifetime. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, proving that luck and knowledge can collide in the most unexpected ways. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any 1970-60 penny they can find, offering unimaginable sums for examples in top condition. But it's not just about condition, authenticity is everything. Counterfeits exist, subtle variations can trick the eye, and one small oversight could turn a dream into disappointment. That's why understanding what makes this coin unique is crucial. For those looking to identify one, start with the mint mark. The D, small and understated, tells you it came from Denver. Examine the coin under magnification. Look for the double die effect on the date and the mint mark. Check Lincoln's features for irregularities, sometimes so slight they're nearly invisible to the naked eye. Remember, every detail matters because this coin is rare precisely for the mistakes it carries. Collectors often share stories of almost losing these pennies to pocket change, to drawers, to overlooked coin rolls. One lucky finder checked a jar of pennies that had sat untouched for decades and uncovered a coin worth over $2.7 million. That moment changed everything, not just financially, but emotionally. The thrill of discovery, the disbelief, the awe, these are the moments that collectors live for. And while the story sounds extraordinary, it's real. There are documented auction results, first-hand accounts, and experts who have verified the rarity of the 1970-60 Lincoln penny. Each sale sends ripples through the collector community, reminding everyone that history can hide in the most ordinary places. It's a reminder that your pocket change is not just currency, it's a portal to history, mystery, and wealth beyond imagination. Every 1970-60 penny looks similar at first glance. But the key is in the details. Subtle doubling, tiny die cracks, and the position of the mint mark, these are the fingerprints of a coin destined for legend. Avoid common pitfalls, don't be fooled by minor scratches, discoloration, or coins that appear suspiciously perfect. Only genuine mint errors of top quality can reach the $1 million level. Every collector dreams of this moment. The instant you recognize a coin others pass by, the thrill of knowing that something seemingly ordinary is actually extraordinary. It's a reminder that history can be hidden in the smallest places, waiting for someone curious and knowledgeable enough to see its value. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The next person who discovers it will experience a moment they'll never forget, a life-changing secret revealed through a simple, copper Lincoln penny. Keep your eyes sharp, your hands steady, and your curiosity alive, because treasures like this are waiting for those bold enough to look. But it's sold for nearly $2 million. Imagine holding a penny that looks like every other coin in your pocket. Ordinary, unremarkable, just a tiny circle of copper. Most people would toss it without a thought. But this is no ordinary penny. This is the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so perfectly struck, that in top condition it can reach up to $2.8 million. One man's casual pocket change became $1 million miracle, and it could happen to you. It all starts with a mistake the mint never intended. In 1987, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies, each supposed to carry a small D or P to mark where it was made. But some pennies slipped through with no mint mark at all. Tiny anomalies, easy to miss unless you know exactly where to look. Collectors were shocked when the first one appeared in pristine condition at an auction. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. What should have been a common coin suddenly became a secret treasure worth millions. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A single 1987 no-mint mark penny, found in a man's change at a diner, sold at auction for more than $2 million. People couldn't believe it. A coin that could have been spent on a pack of gum or left in a jar for decades was suddenly a life-changing fortune. Every detail mattered: the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the crisp lettering, the way the copper reflected the light. This penny wasn't just money, it was history frozen in metal, a secret that only a few would ever understand. Most collectors dismiss pennies from the 1980s. They think, it's just copper, it's just Lincoln, it's just another coin. But this coin proves them wrong. The missing mint mark, the exact alignment of the die strike, and the pristine condition combined to create something almost magical. And here's the kicker: thousands of these pennies were made, but only a tiny fraction survived in perfect condition. The rest were spent, scratched, or melted down. That's why this coin is so valuable. It's not just rare, it's nearly impossible to find in the condition that commands millions. Collectors who study these pennies notice something strange. Look closely at the area under Lincoln's shoulder and the rim of the coin. That's where tiny imperfections can appear. Some coins show a faint doubling in the letters, a subtle hint that this penny was struck at just the right moment. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Those who spot it know they're holding something extraordinary. One man's story became legendary. He bought a roll of pennies from a small-town bank, not expecting anything unusual. Weeks later, while organizing his collection, he noticed a penny with no mint mark. He couldn't believe his eyes. Experts confirmed it. This was a top-condition 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. The auction that followed made headlines. Suddenly, this once-overlooked coin became the ultimate collector's prize. But there's more to the story. Some collectors discovered that environmental conditions play a huge role in the coin's value. A penny left in a drawer, away from sunlight, in a low-humidity environment, can preserve its luster for decades. A single scratch or nick, however, can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions. That's why every detail matters when you're hunting for a penny like this. Many of these pennies are hiding in plain sight. People check their change at the grocery store, toss it into jars at home, never realizing they're sitting on a fortune. Dealers encourage anyone who collects pennies to inspect each one carefully, looking for that missing mint mark in near-perfect condition. The difference between a common penny and one worth millions is so small that it can be overlooked in an instant. Auction houses have reported unbelievable sales. One top-condition 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny sold for $2.8 million to a collector who had been searching for years. Another appeared unexpectedly in a private collection, prompting a bidding war that lasted days. Every sale sends shockwaves through the coin world. It's more than money, it's proof that history, chance, and luck collide in a single tiny coin. First, check the mint mark, or in this case, the absence of one. Then, examine Lincoln's profile, the sharpness of the lettering, and the edges of the coin. Look for any doubling, any anomaly that could indicate it slipped through the mint's standard process. Condition is everything. Even the smallest imperfection can drastically lower the value. Only those preserved in top condition can reach the market value of $2.80 million. Collectors often make mistakes. They assume any 1987 penny without a D is valuable, but most are worn or damaged. The true million-dollar coins are uncirculated, pristine, and display an almost mirror-like luster. They're rare, yes, but more importantly, they're perfectly preserved snapshots of a moment in time, a moment that could make someone a millionaire overnight. Imagine the thrill of discovering this coin in your own change. The heartbeat, the disbelief, the excitement of realizing you might be holding a fortune in your hand. One man's pocket change became a life-changing discovery, and yours could too. Every second you wait, someone else could be unearthing the same treasure, but the possibility is real, and it's within reach. Dealers continue to scour coin shops, estate sales, and bank rolls, searching for the next 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in top condition. Experts advise extreme caution: handle the coin gently, avoid cleaning it, and always have it professionally graded. The right move could transform a simple penny into $1 million windfall. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Just one look, one careful inspection, and you could discover a treasure that turns history, luck, and chance into a fortune. But today, it's valued at over $2 million. Imagine holding a tiny copper penny between your fingers, something most people overlook every day. Now imagine that same coin could turn into a life-changing fortune, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to discover it. That's exactly the story of the 2000 Lincoln penny, a coin that has collectors across the U.S. scrambling, and one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The year was 2000. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of pennies, and yet, a tiny imperfection in just one of these coins created a legend. Most pennies from that year are ordinary, tossed into jars or lost in couch cushions. But some coins carry hidden secrets: minute differences in the mint mark, subtle doubling, or misaligned dies, that can explode a coin's value beyond anything most people imagine. Dealers were shocked when the first 2000 penny in top condition appeared on the auction block. It wasn't just the coin's pristine state, but the barely perceptible minting error that made experts stop in their tracks. These mistakes, invisible to the untrained eye, were like a fingerprint from history, a silent signature saying, "I am rare, and I am worth millions." What happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors who had spent decades hunting for rare Lincoln pennies suddenly realized this unassuming coin could outshine them all. Auctions reached jaw-dropping amounts. The whispers among coin dealers turned into headlines: a 2000 penny in perfect condition, with its flawless luster and secret minting quirk, could fetch up to $2 million. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's not the year. It's not the copper. It's the mint mark itself. Look closely at the D stamped on the coin. On the most valuable specimens, it shows subtle doubling, a ghost-like shadow that hints at a minting error few notice. Miss it, and you could overlook a fortune. Spot it, and you could hold the key to a seven-figure discovery. One man found his penny in a dusty old jar while cleaning out a drawer. At first, he laughed, just another coin, right? But a second glance at the D made his heart race. He sent it to an expert, who gasped when they examined it. In perfect condition, this coin wasn't just rare, it was a legend, $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. Collectors are desperate. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins before word spreads. And yet, many people throw them away every day. The lesson here is clear: every penny matters. Every detail matters. That quiet copper disc in your pocket or at the bottom of a jar could be a fortune waiting to be uncovered. First, check the mint mark. The D for Denver is critical. Next, examine the coin for doubling, a faint shadow that runs along the letters and numbers. Finally, the condition must be exceptional: no scratches, no wear, with a gleaming copper sheen. Many coins are dismissed because collectors or casual holders miss these subtle cues. Avoid the common mistake of assuming age alone creates value. The truth is in the detail, and in the case of the 2000 penny, that detail is everything. Imagine walking into a coin shop, holding a coin like this, and having a dealer's jaw drop. Imagine the excitement, the disbelief, the sudden realization that your ordinary change has become a life-altering treasure. The thrill is real because it's not hypothetical. People are living this story right now. A single penny, a perfect mint mark, and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own something that could transform your life. Collectors were stunned when news spread. Suddenly, garages and drawers across America became treasure troves. Ordinary people discovered that their coins, long ignored, might hold the power to change their financial destiny. And the 2000 Lincoln penny became the ultimate symbol of hidden wealth: small, unassuming, yet unimaginably valuable. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Look closely. Examine every coin. That simple habit, repeated with patience and sharp eyes, could uncover a fortune in a way you never imagined possible. The story of the 2000 Lincoln penny isn't just about copper and mint marks. It's about possibility, luck, and the magic that hides in everyday objects. Remember, it's not just about owning a coin. It's about holding history, mystery, and life-changing potential in the palm of your hand. That tiny copper disc could be your ticket to $1 million moment, a story you'll tell for years to come. So, when you pick up a penny next time, remember, this is no ordinary coin. Hidden in the ordinary lies the extraordinary. And the 2000 Lincoln penny? It's the perfect example of how small details create monumental value. One careful glance could reveal a fortune, one subtle shadow on a mint mark could change your life forever, and one ordinary penny could suddenly be worth millions. But today, it could be worth over $2.2 million. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary in your hand that no one gives it a second glance, yet it hides a secret powerful enough to change a life forever. That's exactly what collectors are discovering with the 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. One small, copper disc, minted decades ago, has become a legendary treasure in the world of rare coins, and the hunt for it has collectors scrambling like never before. It all started with a single discovery in a dusty attic. A man was cleaning out old drawers when he noticed a penny that looked slightly different. At first glance, it was just another Lincoln penny, the kind you pass along without thought. But as he examined it under a magnifying glass, a shocking detail revealed itself, a minting irregularity so rare, it sent chills through the collector community. Experts immediately identified it as a 1989 penny with no mint mark in top condition, a coin so rare that its value could skyrocket into the millions. Collectors were stunned. The no mint mark pennies from 1989 are almost impossible to find in perfect condition. Most are worn from decades of use, their surfaces dulled and scratched. But this one had been preserved as if time itself had ignored it. The sharp details of Lincoln's profile gleamed in the light, the edges crisp, the copper a deep, rich tone. This is the kind of coin that turns ordinary collectors into legends overnight. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. This single penny ended up at a private auction, where bidders from around the country fought in a tense bidding war. Dealers who had chased coins for decades suddenly realized they were staring at a potential $1 million treasure. The atmosphere was electric. Every bid ratcheted the tension higher, each moment a test of nerves, each offer a leap toward fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. That's the story of countless collectors who have stumbled upon coins like this. Imagine casually flipping through change, only to find that a seemingly worthless penny could be your ticket to financial freedom. That thrill, that rush of discovery, is exactly what makes this 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny legendary. The secret lies in the details. Not every 1989 penny is worth millions. Most are common, easily found in circulation. But the ones that reach this stratosphere of value share a few critical traits: perfect condition, no mint mark, and an absence of damage or wear that would diminish its rarity. Dealers are obsessively searching for pennies that meet these criteria, and they'll pay extraordinary sums to get their hands on one. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The no mint mark is the key. Coins with a D or S mark were minted in Denver and San Francisco, respectively, but a 1989 penny without any mint mark means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and in top condition. These coins are almost mythical. Only a handful have ever been documented in the world, and the discovery of one can send shockwaves through auctions and private sales alike. Collectors were shocked when they learned about the first public sale of a pristine 1989 no-mint mark penny. The coin started at a modest bid, something most people could have afforded, only to explode in value within minutes. The final hammer price? Enough to make history. Experts called it a once-in-a-generation find, and the story ignited a frenzy among collectors across the U.S. Everyone wanted a piece of the legend. Imagine walking into a coin shop and seeing a penny that looks ordinary but might be the key to a $2.2 million fortune. The thrill is real, the stakes are high, and the moment of discovery is electric. Every line on the coin, every tiny mark, every gleam of copper becomes a clue, a beacon guiding collectors toward untold wealth. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, and private collectors are holding on to theirs like priceless heirlooms. The excitement is contagious. Forums are buzzing, newsletters are sending alerts, and social media posts are exploding with speculation. And the reason is simple. A single 1989 no-mint mark penny in perfect condition is not just a coin. It's a story, a legacy, a dream realized. But there's a catch. Many coins out there are deceptively close to this rarity but fall short in crucial ways. Slight wear, minor scratches, or even a faded mint mark can drop the value from millions to mere dollars. That's why identifying the genuine article is so important. Top condition is non-negotiable. Every ridge, every line, every detail must be intact. And the absence of a mint mark is absolute. If you're searching through pocket change, don't rush. Patience and a careful eye can be the difference between an ordinary penny and a historic fortune. One man's discovery became a cautionary tale and an inspiration. He had casually tossed dozens of pennies aside, not realizing that the one he kept could change his life. Today, collectors are combing through decades of coin jars, drawers, and piggy banks, hoping to replicate that miracle. And they know that luck favors the prepared eye, the patient collector, the one who doesn't overlook the tiny, almost invisible details. This coin also has a fascinating backstory in the minting process itself. During 1989, production errors were rare, but occasionally, pennies slipped through with anomalies that would later define their value. The no-mint mark variety in top condition was one such anomaly, making it a secret kept under the radar for decades, until collectors stumbled upon them. The rarity and perfection combined to make a story that feels almost cinematic. Every time a new 1989 no-mint mark penny is discovered, the market reacts instantly. Auctions spike, whispers spread, and collectors worldwide hold their breath. It's a reminder that even the smallest objects can harbor unimaginable wealth, waiting for someone with sharp eyes, patience, and a little bit of luck. First, examine the mint mark, or lack thereof. Next, check the condition. The surface should be flawless, the lines sharp, the copper vibrant. Avoid any pennies with scratches, discoloration, or bends. And finally, consult a reputable grader if you suspect you've found the legendary 1989 no-mint mark penny. Verification is everything in this world. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's not just money. It's history, it's fortune, it's the thrill of discovery condensed into a tiny disc of copper. Every collector dreams of this moment. Every coin enthusiast fantasizes about holding $1 million miracle in the palm of their hand. And for some lucky person, that dream could become reality today.